Welcome to the show. We are live on 96.9 The Game, streaming on the iHeartRadio app. You are in the zone, the show of the Orlando sports fan. Your host, Brandon Kravitz, here alongside my co-host and producer. He is Sweet Tea, Tyler Caron. We've got you up until 6 p.m. Magic Cavs Game 5 last night. We're going to get into all of that in just a moment. We're even skipping headlines today just so we can jump straight to it. Today's talkback topic, though, I have not hit Sweet Tea with this one yet, unless he's been paying attention to the Facebook group page. Underrated spots in Central Florida. Let's hear it. Hit us up on the iHeartRadio talkback. And I'm guessing, Tyler, that we are going to be enlightened through this project. And this is the cool thing about coming up with random questions like this every day. Every once in a while, we learn what your favorite soap is, and it doesn't matter. Although, let's save that one in our back pockets. But underrated spots in Orlando, I already know people are going to hit me with stuff I've never even heard of before.
BK, I just learned that there was more to Orlando than UCF area in downtown 2 years ago. Okay, so that's been my scope. I've been adventuring out over the last 2 years, but I'm definitely not the best person to ask as far as hidden spots. I can't even tell you what's right there in front of you. So I'm curious to hear what the Zone Heads have to say on this one.
So, and my answer personally, because whenever we ask a question like this, I think it's only fair to answer it yourself. My question wouldn't necessarily be a hidden spot, like one of those where you think you're one of the only people in town that knows where that place is, or it's even like a speakeasy where you have to know a certain phrase in order to get in the room. I don't even know that mine qualifies as underrated, but when I thought of this question, the first thing that came to mind for me was Celebration. Have you ever been to Celebration, which is the neighborhood? It's the neighborhood near Disney Springs. Like people actually live there. It's not like a hotel area. And it feels like you're in Pleasantville. It's like almost so perfect and cute that it's creepy. But it's a great place to take the fam. They've got a big lake you can walk around. They got a Starbucks, a couple of good places to eat. So I don't know if that qualifies as underrated. Celebration's probably properly rated in this town, but that's my answer.
Yeah, I've been to these places called Church Street and Wall Street. I'm not sure if you've heard of them, BK, but that's where Sweet Tea has hung out the last couple of years.
They change bars frequently. Do you have a favorite Church Street or Wall Street bar that might still be in rotation?
Oh no, I actually don't. All those bars. I don't think there are hardly any on either of those streets anymore. It's just the times have changed. But those are the two most notable streets and roads for a good time in downtown Orlando.
So usually we would get, make sure you hit us up on the iHeart Talkback, tap that microphone icon and fire away when you're listening on the iHeartRadio app. We want to know your underrated spots in Central Florida. Usually we would get to In the Zone headlines here, but we're just going to jump right into it. We know what you guys want to hear about. This is what we want to talk about. The Magic lost a 1-point game in Cleveland last night, a hard-fought game, double-digit lead changes in the fourth quarter. Paolo went berserk. He scored 39 points on the night. If Game 3 wasn't his breakout performance, this definitely was, but it feels like he's had two of them. There's some debate, though, on it. There's so many different angles to this game, but one of the constant conversations I'm seeing online is the lack of a timeout being called at the end of the game by Jamal Mosley. And I don't mean to sound like a Jamal Mosley apologist, which I very well might be. We love that guy, but it really doesn't bother me. You let your guys go within the flow of the game. He did that. You got a good look at the basket. It's just an incredible play by Evan Mobley. So I want to pause right there and get your thoughts, because this is something that we didn't even really talk about on the post-game show last night. I was just so caught up in the moment. But that timeout, or the lack of a timeout, seems to be a big talking point, a sticking point for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, BK, I don't necessarily have a problem with it, because I don't want to call it a lose-lose situation. It's one of those things where if it goes well, you're a genius. If it doesn't go well, you're an idiot. How are you where you are? It's a difficult situation to win. The only winning situation is if you flat out win the game. And Franz Wagner doesn't get blocked by Evan Mobley. You feel the flow of the game. What's currently happening? Where is the momentum? Who has the hot hand? If you call that timeout, it gives everyone an opportunity to kind of calm down and recollect. At that point in the game, if you're the Magic, I think you want to keep going. You want to ride with the momentum and the energy. And in that case, that's where you don't call a timeout. Listen, we've seen the Denver Nuggets win 2 of the 4 games that they won in their first round series against the Lakers with Jamal Murray shot game-winning shots with no timeouts called. That's Mike Malone saying, I'm riding with the momentum, riding with the energy. I'm riding with my guys in the practice that we've already put in these late game situations. They know what they're doing. I don't need a timeout to tell them and let everyone regroup. So if shot goes in, great. Good call, Jamal Mosley, and plays out how it did, then that's where the rocket starts with why didn't he call timeout?
So I think that's spot on. And 2 things that I think need to be brought up when you talk about a timeout not being used is that it's not just about you setting up your own offense. You're also allowing Cleveland to set themselves up and take a breather on defense. Now, clearly it didn't matter. They played great defense, but a timeout works both ways. You're also calling one for the opposition in that situation. And these 2 teams know each other so well. Do you think there's anything Mosley could call at this point where JB Bickerstaff hasn't seen it? That was the 9th time this year, last night, that these 2 teams had played against each other over the course of the season, regular season and postseason. So that's one aspect of it. And you just – and do the Magic have the sort of offensive firepower to where you feel like out of a timeout with a couple of seconds that you'd get a better shot than what you got? Tell me what that shot is, and maybe I'd feel differently about it. But just based on what shot you're going to create based on a timeout and also giving Cleveland an opportunity to get set, I look at those 2 factors, and yeah, it's easy to use 20/20 hindsight because it didn't work.
That's the thing as well with not calling the timeout is it allows your players to play freely, which in that point, when they're playing free and they're playing confident, that's where you produce the best basketball. If you call that timeout, you drop the out of bounds after a timeout play, you drop that set. That's where if Cleveland, again, they just had a chance to regroup and maybe change what they're going to do. Cleveland throws a wrench in your plans. That's where you put the players in a difficult spot. And they're professionals, so they can do this, but do you follow the game plan? Do you follow the set? Or do you play freely and try to take advantage of any advantage the defense is giving you? If you call the timeout, it can actually do the opposite. It can put you further behind because you have to juggle that, stick to the game plan, go win the game. With no timeout, you're going to win the game, and you're just playing basketball at that point. So ultimately, I don't have an issue with the no timeout called.
If I was forced to complain about the last play, my bigger complaint would be that Paolo Banchero didn't have the ball in his hands because he was rolling. He had 16 points in the 4th quarter. So if you're going to give somebody that last shot, Franz is well equipped to do it. So I don't really have a problem with it. But if you said, Brandon, you can complain about one thing, the timeout to me doesn't even rise to the top of the list. To me, it would be Paolo not touching the ball.
Yeah, I mean, he had 39 points in the game, and 27 of them came in the second half. The mid-range was unstoppable all night long, and he was able to get to the free throw line. Paolo, that's been a common complaint this year, is Paolo needs to be the guy that is the closer on this team. He has been, he hasn't been. And that the consistency is what people are looking for. But again, it's not that it was a messy last possession. Franz Wagner got as good of a look as you can get. It's just Evan Mobley made the better play and got to the ball. And it really is quite that simple. Yeah. Jamal Mosley is no Eric Spoelstra when it comes to out of bounds, out of timeouts plays. Eric Spoelstra can drop a brand new play on the fly that no one has ever seen before, and the success rate seems to hit just about every time. Jamal Mosley isn't quite there yet. It would have resulted in a couple of screens and Paolo or Franz getting the ball at top of the key and attacking the hoop. Do we need to call a timeout in order to drop one of those 2 things?
Yeah, and that is the I guess that would be the counter to my own argument about we'll put the ball in Paolo's hands. Paolo draws attention. Franz gets to the basket as easily as he does because of Paolo's presence. I saw Paolo standing at the top of the key around the time that Franz made the drive. So whatever, we'll table that. They lost. Doesn't matter. The last thing that I want to be accused of on this show is being a waffler. You know, I try and stick to my guns here, but last night was the best case scenario for losing a game in this series. for the Orlando Magic. I figured going into last night, the Magic would either win and they would set themselves up for a series win on Friday, or they would lose, be somewhat embarrassed like they were in games 1 and game 2, and then you wouldn't feel any sort of confidence going into a potential game 7 if the Magic were still able to win in game 6. So my big rally cry going into last night was that the series is over tonight. Win or lose, the series is over. Well, I am having a hard time being as deliberate with that take as I was 24 hours ago, because there is a sliver of optimism. If you watch the way that game played out, game 6 sets up to be a Magic win. Friday night at the Kia Center, where they have been smashing the Cleveland Cavaliers, if they go and take care of business the way that we think they can, what we witnessed last night is proof positive that game 7 is an absolute coin flip, especially if Jared Allen still isn't playing. So I haven't completely switched. I'm just telling you, like, the waffle is in the toaster, and I haven't taken it out yet. I need you to either talk me off the ledge, talk me into the ledge, however you want to handle that.
Yeah, no, I think I'm leaning into what you're saying. I've been juggling this all morning long, trying to figure out how to deliver this. But last night, it feels like the Cavaliers snuck away with that win. Now, if the Magic, it's a tightly contested game for most of the game. The Cavs did have the lead for most of the game, but they never had a lead bigger than 10. The Magic kept this one competitive from buzzer to buzzer, and it maybe you could have classified it as the Magic stole that win just because of how the possession, or who had the advantage for the time of the game. It was in the Cavs' favor by a heavy margin, but the fourth quarter was all back and forth. The Magic took the lead. The Magic probably would have stole that one, but it feels like the Cavs, they snuck away with it. It's not fair to say they stole it. It's hard to say any home team stole a game, especially when you're winning more than you're losing throughout the duration. But they didn't win it that confidently. They almost did give it away at the end. So my question becomes, how many can the Cavs sneak away with? And they got that one. They got game 5. The Magic, they handled their business and come out with a double-digit win in that confidence in game 6. Can the Cavs sneak away with another home win in game 7? I feel less confident about it now than what I did heading into the game on the Cavs side before game 5.
I mean, it's pretty simple at this point. If the Magic shoot at a pretty good percentage and they shoot well from deep, at least, like, I'm not even talking about like what the Heat did in game 2 of the Celtics Heat series. They were like 54% from 3-point range. If they're just respectable from 3-point range and shoot at a decent clip from the field overall, they're the better team. And we've seen 5 games now, and I feel like that's the read on this series. But there is also no proof yet that the Magic shot is going to show up when they're on the road. So that's the part that still gives me that sort of that initial thought that, hey, a game 7, forget it. The Magic aren't going to win that. But last night, the Magic were a point away from going to overtime, 2 points away from winning, a Franz layup away from beating the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, man, that waffle's toasting. It's getting crispy in there.
It is. And the series is it's getting hot. And that's what we mentioned with after game 1 and 2, it's, whether it's a lazy take or not, they just have to knock down shots. And in game 3, we saw that come into fruition, not because they did what the Heat did when they stole that win in Boston, knocking down 23 three-pointers on the night. The Magic shot 33% from beyond the arc in game 3 and won by dang near 40. That's all that we were asking for was we're not saying that the Magic need to shoot 45% from beyond the arc and 60% from the field to win this game. You just have to shoot a respectable clip. You have to knock down at least 30% from beyond the arc and close to 50 from the field if you want to be in the ball game. You look at last night, they shot 46% from the field, pretty close to 50, about where you want to be, and 29% from beyond the arc. That's where, again, one of those three-pointers, you're not asking for 40%, you're asking for 31.5%. It's a 1-point loss. So lazy or not, these things matter. It's these small things. And Jamal Mosley addressed it in his post-game press conference last night about having to take care of the small things, having the extra possessions, not giving them the extra possessions, making the free throws, the little things in the second quarter that no one thinks about that it result in the final score.
Yeah, or not falling down by 10 in the first quarter. So let's wrap this portion of our Magic conversation with this. There are many that are saying that this series is already a win for the Magic, that they've already proven everything that they need to, and everything after this would be gravy. If we're being honest, that was already the case, okay? The Magic didn't need to get to this point in the series for you to feel good about what this season was. Those 2 home games took care of that. The Magic being in the playoffs as a top 5 seed really took care of that. So I think that already existed. I'm seeing that is sort of a popular conversation. I'm raising my eyebrow and going, weren't we already there? Do we really need to get to this point to say, okay, no, we're all good? Now that we're here, to me, it's a separate mentality. So, yes, the season has already been a success. Win, lose, or draw, the Magic could have gotten swept, and I would have felt that way. But now that we're here, I can't get – there are just certain – I don't know. We haven't been in the playoffs in a long time in this city. So I guess I'm relearning the way that some of these conversations go, where after 2 games and 2 losses, fans are already talking about the offseason. And then at game 6 – you're talking about, well, it's already been a success. Like, can we live in the moment? I cannot get my head around this mentality that right now we need to be talking about, hey, we're good. It's such a loser mentality at this stage. You want to cap that at the end of the season, fine, but I just can't get down with that. The timing of that sort of conversation, to me, it's not the time to talk about whether this has been a win or a loss of a series. The Magic need to go out there and get W's.
BK, I mean, I woke up to 2 notifications this morning from Sleeper, ESPN, whatever it was, and Paul George is being directly linked as a hot target for the Orlando Magic next year, and that Devin Booker in the Knicks front office will do anything in their power to get Devin Booker in New York to pair with Jalen Brunson. Both of these teams are going to a game 6 in the next couple of days. What are we doing? Talking about the losers already eliminated and getting them, the Clippers are still alive with Paul George, but getting them to another city. What are we doing? Why are we doing that? And that's the national media that we're so desperately begging for. It blows my mind that that's stuff we're getting. But to your point of, is it a success or not? Because I feel the same way as you do. I would call the regular season a success. And my mentality heading into the postseason was pretty much whatever happens here. The season as a whole was a success. The Magic were the 5 seed. That's a spot that very few thought they would actually be. With the upside of a point with a week left in the season, they were looking at a potential 2 seed. That's a successful year for the Magic. With that being said, based on how this series has gone with Cleveland, the fact that you have a 38-point win and a 23-point win in the series, the fact that Cleveland looks like a wounded deer right now with Jarrett Allen out of the rotation, even at full strength, it's a team that has shown quit. It's a team that the Magic have shown that they are better than. The Magic are better than Cleveland for a full 48 minutes of basketball. They're more consistent. They're more reliable. Cleveland they're sparkier. They play with fire, and when it works, it's great. So you want, for the Magic, you're the better team. So that's where it'd be disappointing to not come out on the winning end of not just a couple of games, but the series. Doesn't mean that this season is a disappointment.
I think Tyler and I are on the same page here. The season was a success, but we're judging the playoffs as if it's a different season. And if the Magic lose this series, the postseason is going to be a disappointment, especially because, like Tyler said, the Magic have been the better team. We'll pause it right there. We want your thoughts on this. 50857 is how you can light us up on the Mills Air text line. More in the zone coming up next.